She's special, Mrs. Rodriguez said one afternoon, watching 3-year-old Lena explain wind patterns to a confused neighbor kid. That child is going to change things. I know, Maya said quietly. I'm just hoping the world is ready for her. By the time Lena was 5, the community college had heard about Maya's unusual daughter. The dean suggested she bring Lena to a special program for gifted children run out of the University of Maine. Maya was hesitant. She'd spent 5 years building a quiet life, protecting Lena from the pressure and expectations that came with being exceptional. But Dr. Sarah Williams, a child development specialist who ran the gifted program, convinced her to at least let Lena be tested. The testing took 3 hours. Maya sat in the waiting room, flipping through magazines without reading them, wondering if she was making a mistake. Dr. Williams emerged looking stunned. Mrs. Reed, can we talk privately? Maya's heart dropped. Is something wrong? Wrong? No, not wrong at all. Your daughter, she paused. I've been doing this for 20 years. I've worked with hundreds of gifted children. Lena she's extraordinary. Her spatial reasoning is off the charts. Her pattern recognition abilities are in the top 0.1%. She's reading at a 7th grade level. Her mathematical understanding is closer to a middle schooler than a kindergartner. Maya felt pride and terror in equal measure. What does that mean for her? It means she needs challenges that a normal classroom can't provide. It means she's going to be bored and frustrated if we don't give her material that engages that incredible brain. It also means, Dr. Williams said gently, that you're going to have to be very careful. Gifted children face unique social and emotional challenges. She's going to feel different. She is different. And that's hard, especially for kids. Maya knew all of this already. She'd been that kid herself, just not quite at Lena's level. What do you recommend? The program can provide advanced curriculum. We can work with her school to create an individualized education plan. But mostly, she needs what all kids need. To be loved, to be challenged appropriately, and to understand that her worth isn't tied to her intelligence. Maya took Lena home that day and made her favorite dinner, macaroni and cheese with cut-up hot dogs. They ate on the porch, watching the sunset paint the ocean gold and orange. Dr. Williams says you're really smart, Maya said. Lena shrugged, twirling pasta on her fork. I guess. How do you feel about that? The little girl was quiet for a moment. Sometimes I wish I could just think normal things. The other kids at preschool, they don't care about how pulleys work or why birds can fly. They just want to play pretend. And when I try to explain stuff, they look at me weird. Maya's heart ached. I know, baby. I know it feels lonely sometimes. But your brain is a gift. You're going to do amazing things. And the right people, the people who matter, they're going to love you for exactly who you are, not in spite of it. Do you think I'm weird? I think you're perfect, Maya said firmly. Exactly, perfectly who you're supposed to be. Lena smiled then, that rare full smile that made her look like her father. Can we work on my robot design after dinner? Absolutely. They went inside, cleared the dishes, and spent the evening sketching out plans for a solar-powered toy robot made from recycled materials. Lena's hands moved across the paper with surprising precision for a 5-year-old, creating detailed schematics that Maya helped refine. This is good work, Lena Bear, Maya said, using her daughter's nickname. Really good. Thanks, Mama. When I grow up, I want to build things that help people. Like you used to. Lena knew some of her mother's history. That she'd been an engineer, that she'd worked for a big company in Boston, that she'd left to have a different kind of life. But Maya had never told her about Adrian. Never explained that the brilliant mind Lena inherited came from 2 sources, not one. You will, Maya said. You're going to build incredible things. She had no idea how true that was. The years passed in that particular way childhood has, both infinite and impossibly quick. Lena grew taller, smarter, more certain of herself. Maya taught her classes, took on more freelance work as her reputation for elegant design solutions spread quietly through online networks. They had enough. Not much, but enough. When Lena was 8, she won her first science fair with a solar-powered drone built entirely from recycled electronics sheets salvaged from the town dump. The local paper ran a story. Girl genius builds flying robot from trash. There was a photo of Lena, grinning proudly, holding her creation. Maya clipped it out and put it in a scrapbook alongside every other milestone. First steps. First words. First drawing that actually looked like what it was supposed to be. Mrs. Rodriguez came over the night of the science fair with a cake. "That girl of yours is going places," she said. "I know," Maya said quietly. "I just hope I can keep up with her." "You will. You're a good mother, Maya. Don't doubt that." But Maya did doubt, because every time she looked at Lena, she saw Adrian. And every time she saw Adrian in her daughter, she wondered if she'd stolen something from both of them by keeping them apart. The locket, the one Adrian had given her for her birthday, the delicate silver thing with both their initials intertwined. She'd left it on her desk at Cole Innovations when she quit. But sometimes she wished she'd kept it. Not for herself but for Lena. Proof that her father had existed, that he'd loved her mother once, even if that love hadn't been enough. When Lena was 10, she asked the question Maya had been dreading. They were in the kitchen making chocolate chip cookies from scratch. Lena was measuring ingredients with scientific precision while Maya preheated the oven. "Mama, why don't I have a dad?" Maya's hands stilled on the mixing bowl. "You do have a dad, sweetheart. Everyone has a biological father. He's just not part of our lives." "Why not?" Maya sat down at the Kit Chris table, pulling Lena into the chair beside her. "When I was younger, I fell in love with someone. He was brilliant and ambitious, and we built beautiful things together. But when it came time to choose between me and his career, he chose his career. So I left, and I found out I was pregnant with you after we'd already ended things." Lena was quiet, processing this information with her usual thoughtful intensity. "Does he know about me?" "No." "Why didn't you tell him?" "Because," Maya took a breath. "Because I wanted him to choose me for me, not because of obligation. Because I was angry and hurt. Because I thought you and I would be better off building our own life. Maybe that was selfish. Maybe I should have told him. But I made the choice I thought was right at the time." "Do you think he would have wanted to know me?" Maya looked at her daughter. At those green-gray eyes that were pure Adrian Cole. At the brilliant mind that was both of them combined. "Yes," she said honestly. "I think he would have loved you very much. But I also think he wasn't ready to be a father. He was married to his company in a way that didn't leave room for much else." "Am I like him?" Maya smiled sadly. "You have his eyes. His mind for patterns and systems. His ability to see how things fit together. But you have your own heart, Lena. You're not him. You're not me. You're beautifully, completely yourself." Lena nodded slowly. "I'm not sad about it," she said. "I mean, I'm curious sometimes. But you're enough, Mama. You've always been enough." Maya pulled her daughter into a hug, fighting back tears. "You're enough too, baby. More than enough." They finished making the cookies in comfortable silence. Later that night, after Lena had gone to bed, Maya did something she hadn't done in years. She looked up Adrian Cole online. The search results were extensive. His company had continued to grow. Cole Innovations was now a $10 billion empire, with products in 70 countries. Adrian himself had gotten married, divorced, married again. There were photos of him at tech conferences, charity galas, product launches. He looked older, still handsome, still commanding, but there was something in his eyes in the recent photos. A weariness, an emptiness, or maybe she was just projecting. She found an interview from 6 months ago. The journalist had asked him about his legacy, what he wanted to be remembered for. "Honestly," Adrian had said, "I don't know anymore. We've built an empire, but sometimes I wonder if we've built anything that actually matters. Products come and go. Stock prices rise and fall. I used to think innovation for its own sake was enough. Now I'm not so sure." The journalist had pressed. What changed? He'd been quiet for a long moment before answering. "I lost something once. Someone. The most talented designer I ever worked with. And I've spent the last decade trying to replicate what we had together. But you can't reverse engineer magic. You can't algorithm your way back to inspiration. Some things, once you lose them, are just gone." Maya closed her laptop. She didn't need to read anymore. Meanwhile, in Boston, Adrian Cole sat in his glass-walled office on the 47th floor, staring at reports that should have excited him but just looked like numbers on a screen. Cole Innovations was struggling. Not financially, they still made billions. But creatively, every product they'd launched in the last 3 years had been incremental improvements on existing technology. Safe. Boring. Exactly the kind of thing Maya would have hated. His current head of design, Marcus Chun, was brilliant in his own way. But he lacked that something Maya had. That ability to see not just what technology could do, but what it should do. What it meant for people. We're stuck, his CFO had said bluntly in the last board meeting. Our competitors are out innovating us. We need something revolutionary, not evolutionary. Adrian knew she was right, but revolution couldn't be scheduled in product roadmaps. Couldn't be budgeted or projected or strategically planned. It happened in moments of inspiration. In late-night conversations with someone who saw the world differently than you did. In partnerships between vision and execution. He'd had that once. With Maya Reed. He'd looked for her over the years. Hired private investigators. Searched public records. Scoured social media. But Maya had disappeared so completely it was like she'd never existed. The only traces were the patents she co-owned, the design she'd created, and a single photo from a tech conference where she stood slightly apart from everyone else, looking at the camera with those dark, intelligent eyes that had seen through every bit of his carefully constructed persona. He kept that photo in his desk drawer. Took it out sometimes when he was alone. Wondered what she was doing. If she was happy. If she ever thought about him. If she'd forgiven him. He'd never forgiven himself. His current wife, Isabel, was a venture capitalist. Smart, attractive, appropriately ambitious. Their marriage was a partnership, not a romance. They had separate bedrooms, separate social lives, separate everything except the public appearances their positions required. She knew about Maya. He'd told her once, in a moment of whiskey-fueled honesty. The one that got away. Isabel had said with a slight smile. Something like that. We all have those, she'd said. People who showed us what we could have been if we'd been braver. But we weren't braver, were we, Adrian? So we became this instead. She gestured at their penthouse, at the view, at the expensive emptiness of their lives. He hadn't argued because she was right. Now, sitting in his office, he pulled up the quarterly innovation reports. Page after page of safe, incremental progress. Nothing that would change the world. Nothing that mattered. His assistant knocked on the door. Mr. Cole, you have the acquisition review meeting in 10 minutes. Right? The Youth Innovation Challenge winners. His company sponsored it annually, looking for fresh talent and potentially marketable ideas. Usually it was a formality. Shake some hands, write some checks, move on. He gathered his things and headed to the conference room. The presentation was already set up when he arrived. Marketing team on one side, legal on the other, a few board members video conferencing in. The first 2 presentations were fine. A water purification system, an app for organizing school projects. Solid ideas, nothing special. Then they got to the third. This one's interesting, his head of acquisitions said. Sustainable fabric interface. Combines wearable technology with environmental sensors. The patent application shows some really elegant code work. And get this, the inventor is 13 years old. Adrian looked up from his phone. 13? The acquisition head pulled up a video. A young girl stood in what looked like a school gymnasium, explaining her prototype to a panel of judges. Current wearable technology relies on rare earth minerals and creates massive electronic waste, she was saying. My design uses biocompatible, compostable materials that can still interface with standard operating systems. The fabric itself becomes the circuit board. When the garment wears out, it biodegrades completely. She was poised, articulate, absolutely certain of her ideas. Dark hair pulled back in a ponytail, dressed in jeans and a hoodie. She looked like a kid, but she spoke like an engineer. Adrian felt something stir in his chest. Not quite recognition, but familiarity. The judges asked her about scalability, manufacturing challenges, cost per unit. She answered every question with the kind of technical depth that suggested she hadn't just had an idea. She'd actually solved the problems. She won first place. The video showed her accepting the award, grinning with the unself-conscious joy of someone who'd just proven themselves. "What's her name?" Adrian asked. His acquisition head checked the notes. "Lena Reed. From Harlow Bay, Maine." "Reed." The room tilted slightly. "Reed?" Adrian repeated. "Yeah." "Why?" He couldn't answer. Because Reed wasn't that uncommon a name. There were probably thousands of Reeds in New England alone. This was a coincidence. Had to be. "Do we have more information on her? Background, family, education?" His marketing director pulled up the contestant bio. "Homeschooled mostly. Some advanced classes through University of Maine gifted program. Mother's name is Maya Reed. Listed as primary guardian. Father not listed." The room went completely still. "Maya Reed," Adrian said carefully. "Does it say what she does?" The marketing director scrolled. "Part-time instructor at Harlow Bay Community College. Some freelance design work. Looks like she used to work in tech but nothing specific listed." He needed to see a photo. Needed to confirm. But he already knew. Somewhere deep in his gut, he knew. "I want to meet this girl," he said. "Set up the acquisition meeting. And get me everything you can find on Maya Reed in Harlow Bay, Maine." His assistant made notes. "When do you want the meeting?" "Next week. And I want it in person, not remote. I'll go to Maine." After everyone left, Adrian sat alone in the conference room, staring at the frozen image of Lena Reed on the screen. She had his eyes. That distinctive green-gray. The same serious intensity he saw in the mirror. And if Maya Reed in Harlow Bay was his Maya, if this was possible, if she'd been pregnant when she left. He pulled up the video again, watching every second. The way Lena moved. The way she explained complex concepts with casual brilliance. The way she smiled when she won. She was 13. He and Maya had broken up almost 13 years ago. The timeline fit. He watched the video 3 more times, looking for proof, for certainty, for anything that would confirm or deny what every instinct was screaming. Then he saw it. A brief moment when Lena tucked her hair behind her ear. There, on a chain around her neck, barely visible. A locket. Silver, delicate, with an intricate intertwined initial design. He'd given Maya that exact locket for her birthday. Custom made, one of a kind. He'd thought she'd left it behind when she quit. But maybe she'd kept it. And maybe she'd given it to their daughter. Their daughter. Adrian Cole, billionaire CEO, master of strategy and control, put his head in his hands and tried to remember how to breathe. The next week moved in slow motion. Adrian made arrangements, cleared his schedule, told Isabel he was going to Maine for an acquisition meeting. "You never go to acquisition meetings personally," she said. "This one's different." She looked at him with that sharp venture capitalist gaze that missed nothing. "This is about her, isn't it? Your engineer." "I don't know yet. But you think you know." He didn't answer. Isabel sighed. "Adrian, if you have a child you didn't know about, it's going to complicate everything. The company, our arrangement, the media. I know. Are you prepared for that?" He looked at his wife, this woman he'd married for practical reasons, who he respected but didn't love. "If she's mine, nothing else matters. Not the company, not the media, not our arrangement. Nothing." Isabel nodded slowly. "Then I hope you find what you're looking for." The flight to Maine was 2 hours. Adrian spent it reviewing everything his team had found. Maya Reed, 38 years old, former employee of Cole Innovations from 8 to 13 years ago. Left suddenly with no forwarding address. Resurfaced in Harlow Bay 5 months after leaving Boston. Gave birth to Lena Marie Reed 7 months after arriving in Maine. The timeline was perfect. Or terrible, depending on how you looked at it. There were photos. Maya at a community college faculty event, looking older but still beautiful. Maya at Lena's science fair, beaming with pride. Maya and Lena at a beach, both laughing at something off camera. In every photo with her daughter, Maya looked happy. Really, genuinely happy in a way Adrian didn't remember seeing in Boston. She'd built a good life. Without him. Without his money or his name or anything he'd thought was important. And she'd raised what appeared to be a genius. The car service picked him up at the small regional airport. The drive to Harlow Bay took another hour through increasingly rural landscape. Pine forests and glimpses of ocean and small towns that barely qualified as towns at all. Harlow Bay itself was picturesque in that deliberate way coastal Maine towns were. Weathered docks, lobster boats, shops selling tourist trinkets and fresh seafood. The kind of place people came to escape, not to build empires. The acquisition meeting was set for 2 p.m. at a small business center near the town hall. Adrian arrived at 1:30, too nervous to wait in the car. His team had rented the whole conference room, set up presentation equipment, prepared contracts, arranged refreshments. All the standard acquisition theater. At 5 minutes to 2, they arrived. Adrian heard them before he saw them. Maya's voice, warm and familiar even after all these years. Remember, Lena, this is just a conversation. You don't have to agree to anything today. We're here to listen to their offer and ask questions. I know, Mama. I've read about acquisition strategy. I know what to watch for. Of course you do, Maya said with a laugh. Then they walked in. Maya saw him and stopped dead. Her face went through a series of expressions too fast to track. Shock, anger, fear, something that might have been pain. Lena, oblivious
to the tension, walked forward confidently, hand extended. Mr. Cole? I'm Lena Reed. Thank you for taking the time to meet with me. Adrian stood slowly. He tried to look at the girl objectively, professionally. But all he could see was Maya's dark hair, his eyes, Maya's bone structure, his serious expression. Hello, Lena, he managed. It's a pleasure to meet you. He shook her hand. Her grip was firm, confident. She looked him directly in the eye without the nervous uncertainty most teenagers had around adults. This is my mother, Lena said, gesturing behind her. Maya had composed herself. Her face was carefully neutral as she stepped forward. Mr. Cole. Ms. Reed, he said, voice remarkably steady. It's been a long time. Has it? I hadn't noticed. The temperature in the room dropped about 20 degrees. Lena looked between them, confusion flickering across her face. Do you two know each other? We worked together, Maya said smoothly. A long time ago, as Mr. Cole said. Shall we sit down and discuss the acquisition proposal? The meeting was professional torture. Adrian's team presented the offer. Cole Innovations wanted to license Lena's design, develop it for market, pay her royalties plus a substantial upfront fee. Lena asked smart questions about creative control, about environmental impact requirements, about profit sharing with the communities where materials would be sourced. She took notes in a worn notebook, occasionally conferring quietly with Maya. Adrian couldn't stop watching them together. The easy intimacy. The way Maya would lean over to explain something and Lena would nod, already understanding. The way they moved in sync, finished each other's thoughts. 13 years of life he'd missed. 13 years of this extraordinary person growing up without him. We'll need time to review the contract, Maya said when the presentation finished. And to consult with our own lawyer. Of course, Adrian's legal counsel said. Take all the time you need. Lena stood, shook hands with everyone professionally. Maya gathered their materials, avoiding looking directly at Adrian. They were almost to the door when he spoke. Ms. Reed, could I have a word? Privately? Maya's shoulders tensed. I don't think that's necessary. Please. Lena looked between them again, that confusion back. Mama? Wait in the hall, sweetheart. I'll just be a minute. After Lena left, Maya turned to face him. The rest of his team quickly excused themselves, sensing this wasn't a conversation they should witness. When the door closed, leaving them alone, the professional mask Maya had been wearing cracked. You have no right, she said quietly. To what? To want to talk to you? To show up here. To turn this into something personal. This is about Lena's work, not about us. Is she mine? The question hung in the air between them. Maya's jaw tightened. Does it matter? Yes. God, Maya, yes it matters. I saw her. I saw my eyes looking back at me. I saw the locket. I need to know. She was quiet for a long moment. You gave up the right to know anything about me or my life when you chose Vanessa Hartford and your board of directors over us. I made a mistake. The worst mistake of my life. I know that now. Now? She laughed bitterly. Now, 13 years later, after I raised her alone? After every sleepless night and every challenge and every moment of figuring it out by myself? Now you want to claim your mistakes? That's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? You know what wasn't fair, Adrian? Finding out I was pregnant the same week you announced your engagement. Knowing I was carrying your child while you stood next to another woman and smiled for cameras. Having to choose between telling you and giving my daughter a father who chose his company over everything else, or protecting her from that disappointment. So no, I don't want to talk about fair. I would have, he stopped. If I'd known. What? You would have what? Left Vanessa? Quit your company? Been a father? We both know you wouldn't have. You'd have set up a trust fund and scheduled visitation around board meetings and convinced yourself that money was the same thing as presents. You don't know that. I know you, Adrian. I knew you then and I can see you haven't changed that much. You're still the man who puts his empire first. The only difference is now you're looking at Lena and seeing potential for your company, not a daughter you missed. Mr. Ellington love lines, where every heartbreak becomes a heartbeat again. In the hallway, Lena was waiting with her backpack, scrolling through something on her phone. Ready? Maya asked, voice light and normal as if the conversation inside hadn't just torn open 13 years of wounds. Lena looked up. You okay, Mama? You look upset. I'm fine, sweetheart. Just negotiation stress. Come on, let's get ice cream. They walked out of the building together. Adrian watched from the conference room window as they got into an old Honda Civic and drove away. His phone buzzed. Text from Isabel. How did it go? He typed back. She's mine. And I've never felt more like a failure in my life. The response came quickly. Then fix it. You're good at fixing impossible things. Fix this. But some things, Adrian was learning, couldn't be fixed with strategy and resources. Some things required humility he wasn't sure he possessed. That evening, Maya and Lena sat on their front porch eating ice cream and watching the sun set over the ocean. He seemed nice, Lena said casually. Mr. Cole. Maya's spoon paused halfway to her mouth. Did he? Professional. Interested in the actual technology, not just the marketability. That's rare. Most of the companies that contacted me just wanted to know about profit margins. Maya wasn't sure how to navigate this conversation. What did you think of the offer? It's fair, Lena said. More than fair financially. And they seemed open to my environmental requirements. But I don't know. Something felt weird. Weird how? She frowned, thinking. The way he looked at us. At you especially. Like he was seeing something that made him sad. Do you know him? I mean really know him, not just work together? This was it. The moment Maya had been dreading for 13 years. Yes, she said slowly. I know him. We were close once. Very close. And then we weren't. It ended badly. Lena was quiet, processing this. Is he why we moved to Maine? Partly, yes. Did he hurt you? Maya considered the question. Not intentionally. But yes, he hurt me very much. Sometimes people make choices that seem right for business or career or obligation, and those choices hurt the people who love them. That's what happened with Adrian. Adrian, Lena repeated. Not Mr. Cole. Adrian. Her eyes, those green-gray eyes that were her father's, studied her mother's face. "Mama," she said carefully. "Is Mr. Cole, is he my father?" Maya's ice cream was melting in the bowl. She set it aside. "Why would you ask that?" "Because he has my eyes. Because of the way he looked at me, like he was trying to memorize my face. Because of how you acted around him, like you were trying very hard not to feel something. And because you've always said my father was brilliant and ambitious and built beautiful things. That's what the internet says about Adrian Cole." Maya felt tears building behind her eyes. "You're too smart for your own good sometimes." "Is he?" "Yes," Maya said quietly. "Adrian Cole is your biological father." Lena was very still. "Does he know?" "He suspected today. I more or less confirmed it." "Why didn't you ever tell me?" "Or tell him?" "Because," Maya took a shaky breath. "Because when I found out I was pregnant, we'd just broken up. He'd chosen to stay with his company and marry someone else. And I was angry and hurt, and I didn't want his guilt or his obligation. I wanted you and I to build our own life without the complication of his world. Maybe that was selfish. Maybe I should have told him. But I made the choice I thought was best for both of us." Lena nodded slowly, taking it all in. "I'm not mad," she said finally. "I mean, it's weird. But I get it. You protected me. That's what moms do." "I tried," Maya said. "I tried to give you everything you needed." "You did. You gave me everything that matters. Science fairs and late-night projects and belief that I could do anything. That's more than money or a famous name. That's real." Maya pulled her daughter into a hug, this brilliant girl who somehow understood things most adults couldn't grasp. "I love you so much, Lena Bear." "Love you too, Mama." They sat in silence for a few minutes, watching the last light fade from the sky. "So what now?" Lena asked. "What do you mean?" "With the contract. With him. With everything." Maya sighed. "The contract, we'll review and probably accept with some modifications. It's a good opportunity for your work. As for him, that's up to you. If you want to know him, meet him, build some kind of relationship, I won't stop you. But I also won't push you toward it. This is your choice, not mine. Can I think about it?" "Of course." They went inside as darkness settled over Harlow Bay. Lena retreated to her room to research, because that's what she did when faced with big decisions. She Googled Adrian Cole, read articles, watched interviews, studied the history of Cole innovations. And she found something interesting. "Mama," she called from her room. "Can you come here?" Maya found her daughter at her desk, laptop open to a technology blog from 13 years ago. "Look at this," Lena said, pointing to the screen. It was an article about Cole Innovation's rejected projects. Technologies they developed but never brought to market. And there, listed among them, was Maya's adaptive sustainability interface. "Your algorithm," Lena said. "The one I based my design on. They didn't just shelve it. They suppressed it. There were 3 different research teams that wanted to develop it. Adrian personally shut it down. Called it too risky, too uncertain." Maya read the article, feeling anger rise in her chest. "He killed my work. Our work. Everything we'd built together." "But why?" Lena asked. "If it was good enough then, why would he shut it down?" Maya understood suddenly. "Because I'd just left. Because every time he looked at that project, he saw me. So he buried it. And in burying it, he set his company on a path of safe, incremental innovation instead of revolutionary change. And now that company is failing," Lena said, pulling up financial reports. "Stock down 18% this year. Competitors taking market share. Headlines about loss of creative direction. He needs revolutionary innovation. He needs what he threw away," Maya said quietly. He needs what we created, Lena corrected. What you created, that I improved. Mama, we have all the power here. Not him. What do you mean? Lena's eyes had that sharp, analytical gleam Maya recognized from her own reflection. He came here because he needs this technology. His company is dying without innovation. We can dictate terms. Not just financial terms. Any terms we want. Maya felt a mix of pride and concern. Her 13-year-old daughter was thinking like a corporate strategist. What terms are you thinking about? Lena started typing, pulling up notes she'd apparently been working on. First, full creative control. The technology develops according to environmental and ethical standards we set, not market pressure. Second, profit sharing with the communities where materials are sourced. Third, establishment of a youth innovation fund, funded by Cole Innovations, for kids from low-income backgrounds. Like you were, Mama. Kids who are brilliant but don't have access. Maya stared at her daughter. Those are good terms. More than good. And fourth, Lena said, voice quieter now. I want him to publicly acknowledge your work. The original algorithm, the research he buried. I want the world to know my mother is the actual genius behind this technology. Tears filled Maya's eyes. Lena, you don't have to do that. Yes, I do. You've spent 13 years putting me first. Sacrificing your career for my childhood. Making sure I had everything I needed while you taught community college classes and took small freelance jobs. The world should know what you're capable of. And he should have to admit what he threw away. Maya pulled her daughter into another hug. How did I raise someone so fierce? You taught me that women don't have to accept what powerful men decide for them. That we get to write our own terms. The next morning, Maya drafted a response to Cole Innovations. It was professional, detailed, and absolutely non-negotiable. The terms Lena had outlined, plus a few additional requirements about sustainability certification and supply chain transparency. She sent it and waited. The response came within hours. A phone call from Adrian himself, not his lawyers. Maya, he said when she answered. These terms they're not standard. No, she agreed. They're not. The Youth Innovation Fund alone would cost millions annually. And public acknowledgement of your original research, that's asking me to admit I made a massive strategic error. Yes, Maya said calmly. That's exactly what I'm asking. Because you did make a massive error. You buried revolutionary technology because you couldn't separate it from personal pain. You cost your company years of innovation. And you cost me professional recognition I'd earned. So if you want access to technology that could save Cole Innovations, these are the terms. He was quiet for a long moment. What about Lena? Does she know I'm her father? She figured it out on her own. She's brilliant, Adrian. Takes after both of us that way. I want to know her. To be part of her life. That's between you and her. Not part of this negotiation. Business and family are separate, remember? You taught me that. She could almost hear him wince. I deserved that. You deserve worse, but I'm trying to be professional. Maya, he stopped. I'm sorry. For all of it. For choosing wrong. For letting you go. For missing 13 years of her life. For burying your work. I was a coward and an idiot and I paid for it every day since. Apologies don't actually fix anything, she said. But they're a start. Do you accept the terms? Yes. All of them. I'll have my lawyers draft something and send it by end of week. Good. And Adrian? If you hurt her, if you disappoint her, if you treat her like an asset instead of a person, I will end you. Maybe not financially, but in every way that matters. Understood? Understood, he said quietly. Can I ask you something? What? Are you happy? In Maine, with your life, are you happy? Maya looked around her small house. At Lena's drawings covering the walls. At the mismatched furniture and overgrown garden and view of the ocean. At the life she'd built from heartbreak and determination. Yes, she said. I'm happy. Not because I forgot you or stopped caring. But because I built something real. Something that matters. Turns out you don't need $1 billion empire to have a meaningful life. You just need to care about the right things. She is extraordinary, Adrian said. Lena. She's extraordinary. I know. I've always known. She gets that from you. She gets it from both of us, Maya corrected. But I'm the one who nurtured it. Remember that. She hung up before he could respond. The contract came through 3 days later. Everything they'd asked for, plus additional protections Maya hadn't even thought to require. Adrian was giving them everything. Lena read through it carefully, made a few notes, then looked at her mother. This is good, she said. Really good. Are you okay with it? Are you? Maya asked. Yes. But I have one more condition. What's that? I want to meet with him. Just the two of us. Before we sign anything, I want to talk to him. Maya's protective instinct flared. Are you sure? Lena nodded. If he's my father, I need to understand who he is. Not as a CEO or a business partner. As a person. And I need him to understand who I am. So when we work together, it's real. Not pretend. You're braver than I ever was, Maya said softly. I learned from the bravest person I know, Lena said, squeezing her mother's hand. They set up the meeting for the following week. A coffee shop in Harlow Bay, neutral territory. Maya drove Lena there but didn't go inside. You'll be okay? She asked before Lena got out of the car. I'll be fine, Mama. Trust me. I do. It's him I don't trust. Give him a chance. You did once. Maya watched her daughter walk into the coffee shop, shoulders back, confident. So much braver than Maya had been at 13. Braver than Maya was now. Inside, Adrian was already there. He'd chosen a table in the back corner, 2 drinks already ordered. Hot chocolate for Lena because he'd asked the acquisition team what she'd ordered at their first meeting, and they'd remembered. When Lena walked in, he stood awkwardly, unsure of protocol. Do you hug your daughter when meeting her for the first time? Shake hands? Stand there uselessly? Lena solved it by sitting down and taking a sip of the hot chocolate. Thank you, she said. For this and for accepting our terms. You're welcome. Though I think thank you is insufficient for what you've accomplished. That design is remarkable. It's my mother's design, Lena corrected. I just improved it. Adrian nodded. I know. And I was wrong to shelve it the first time. Wrong about a lot of things. Lena studied him with those green-gray eyes that were his own. My mom says you chose your company over her. I did. It's the worst decision I ever made. Why did you do it? He considered lying, softening it. But this girl deserved truth. Because I was afraid. My board, my investors, they wanted stability. Safe choices. Your mother, she was brilliant and challenging and represented risk. And instead of fighting for what I loved, I took the easy path. I told myself it was practical. That I was protecting the company. But really, I was protecting myself from having to be brave. Lena took another sip of hot chocolate. That's honest at least. I'm trying to be. With you. I don't think I was ever fully honest with myself before. Do you regret it? Every single day. I've been married twice since your mother. Neither of them felt like what we had. I built a $10 billion company that's creatively bankrupt because I threw away the one person who could have made it matter. And I missed 13 years with a daughter I didn't know I had. So yes, I regret it more than I have words for. Lena was quiet, processing. I'm not looking for a father, she said finally. I want to be clear about that. My mom was both parents. She's more than enough. I don't need you to come in now and try to be dad of the year. I understand. But I am curious about you. About where half my genetics came from. And I think we could work well together professionally. Mom's ethics with your business knowledge, my technical skills with your resources. We could actually do something good. We could, Adrian agreed. What would that look like for you? Partnership, not ownership, Lena said. You're funding and facilitating this technology, but I maintain creative control. We agree on environmental and ethical standards. And you listen when I say something isn't ready or isn't right. I'm 13, but I'm not stupid. Don't treat me like a child you have to protect from hard truths. Adrian felt a wave of pride and pain. She was so much like Maya. So much like himself. A perfect storm of both of them. I can do that, he said. And outside of work? Do you want any kind of relationship? Lena considered this. Maybe. Eventually. But let's start with the business and see how that goes. If you can respect me and my mom as partners, as equals, then maybe we can build towards something personal. But I don't trust easily. And mom says you hurt her really badly. So you're going to have to prove you've changed. Fair enough, he said. More than fair. They talked for another hour. About the technology, about sustainability challenges, about the state of Cole innovations. Lena asked pointed questions about company culture, diversity in leadership, environmental impact of manufacturing. Adrian answered honestly, even when the answers weren't flattering. When they were done, Lena stood to leave. One more thing, she said. The locket you gave Mom. She gave it to me when I was little. Said it was from someone who loved her once. I wear it every day. Not because of you, but because of her. Because it reminds me that she was loved, even if that love wasn't strong enough to last. Adrian felt like he'd been punched. I did love her. I still do, if I'm honest. Then you should tell her that, Lena said. Adults are weird about admitting feelings. But life's too short for that nonsense. My mom's happy now, but I think there's part of her that never stopped loving you either. Whether you two can figure out what that means, I don't know. But it seems silly to waste more time pretending. She walked out, leaving Adrian sitting alone in the coffee shop, utterly undone by his 13-year-old daughter's wisdom. Outside, Maya was waiting in the car. How did it go? She asked as Lena buckled her seatbelt. Good, I think. He's more human than I expected. Sadder. He really does regret what he did. That doesn't fix it. No, Lena agreed. But it's a start. And Mama? I told him he should tell you he still loves you. Maya's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Lena. What? It's obvious. He looks at you like you're the sun and he's been living in darkness for 13 years. And you look at him like you're trying really hard to stay mad but part of you still cares. You're both being stubborn and it's exhausting to watch. I don't think it's that simple, sweetheart. Adults always say that, Lena said. And then they make everything more complicated than it needs to be. He messed up. He knows he messed up. You're still hurt. He gets that. The question is whether 13 years of hurt is bigger than whatever you had before. Only you can answer that. Maya drove in silence, her daughter's words settling into spaces she'd tried to keep closed. The contract signing was scheduled for 2 weeks later. Cole Innovations flew in a full legal team. Maya hired the best intellectual property lawyer in Maine. The meeting took place at a hotel conference room in Portland. Papers were signed. Money transferred. Lena's sustainable fabric interface was officially licensed to Cole Innovations with all the protections and conditions they'd negotiated. There was a press conference after. Adrian stood at a podium in front of reporters and cameras, Lena on one side, Maya on the other. Today marks a new direction for Cole Innovations, he began. We're announcing the licensing of revolutionary sustainable fabric interface technology created by 13-year-old inventor Lena Reed. This technology will transform wearable tech, eliminating rare earth mineral dependence and creating truly biodegradable smart fabrics. He paused, looking at Maya. But I need to make something clear. This technology isn't new. The core algorithm, the foundational research, was developed 13 years ago by Maya Reed, one of the most talented engineers I've ever worked with and my former colleague at Cole Innovations. At the time, I made the decision to shelve this research. It was a catastrophic error in judgment that set our company back years and cost Ms. Reed the recognition she deserved. Today, I'm publicly acknowledging that mistake and crediting her as the original innovator behind this revolutionary technology. The reporters were typing frantically. This wasn't the usual corporate puff piece. Additionally, Adrian continued, Cole Innovations is establishing the Maya Reed Youth Innovation Fund, with an initial endowment of $50 million, dedicated to supporting young inventors from low-income backgrounds. Because genius exists everywhere, but opportunity doesn't. And we can no longer afford to let brilliant minds go unsupported because of economic circumstance. More typing. More camera flashes. This partnership with Lena Reed and Maya Reed represents what I hope is a new era for Cole Innovations. One where profit and ethics aren't enemies. Where innovation serves people and planet, not just shareholders. Where we acknowledge our mistakes and learn from them. He looked at Maya again, and in his eyes she saw everything. Regret. Hope. Love that had never actually died. We can't change the past, he said, and he was talking to her now, not the reporters. But we can build a better future. That's what today represents. A chance to finally get it right. The press conference ended. Reporters wanted individual interviews. Lena handled them with poise, explaining the technology in accessible terms, advocating for environmental responsibility. Adrian and Maya found themselves alone for a moment in a side room. That was a good speech, Maya said quietly. I meant every word. I know. I could tell. He moved closer. I've spent 13 years trying to stop loving you. It doesn't work. I've tried therapy, meditation, distraction, other relationships. Nothing works. You're in me, Maya. Part of how I think and see the world. And meeting Lena, seeing what you created together, what we created together, it just made it all more clear. Adrian, don't. Don't what? Don't tell you that letting you go was the defining mistake of my life? Don't admit that every success since then has felt empty because you weren't there to share it? Don't ask if there's any possible chance you could forgive me enough to let me try again? Maya felt tears building. You don't get to do this. You don't get to show up after 13 years and expect everything to be okay because you finally realized what you lost. I'm not expecting that, he said. I'm just asking for a chance. To show you I've changed. To be present in Lena's life. To maybe, slowly, build something new. Not what we had before. Something better. Something earned instead of easy. She looked at him, this man she'd loved and hated and never quite stopped thinking about. I can't go backwards, she said. I can't be that girl from Boston who believed in fairy tales. I'm not asking you to be. I'm asking you to consider a future. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere. I waited 13 years without knowing where you were. I can wait longer now that I've found you. Lena appeared in the doorway. Media wants more photos, she announced. And someone's asking if we can do a demonstration of the prototype. They followed her out, back into the chaos of press attention and professional obligations. But something had shifted. Some door that Maya had welded shut was opening, just a crack. Over the next 6 months, things evolved slowly. Adrian visited Maine once a month, ostensibly for project updates. He and Lena would spend afternoons working through technical challenges, developing the manufacturing process, refining the design. But he always made time to see Maya too. Coffee. Dinner. Walks along the beach. Conversations that started as work updates and drifted into personal territory. He met Mrs. Rodriguez, who interrogated him with the directness of someone who'd helped raise Lena and wasn't about to let some billionaire waltz in and disrupt things. "You hurt her," Mrs. Rodriguez said bluntly. "You planning to do that again?" "No, ma'am. That's the last thing I want." "Good. Because that girl raised a genius alone while you were building your empire. She's strong. But she deserves someone who sees that strength and loves her for it, not despite it." "I do," Adrian said quietly. "I always did. I was just too stupid to choose it." Mrs. Rodriguez softened slightly. "Well, at least you admit it. That's something." Maya watched these interactions with guarded hope. Watched Adrian show up when he said he would. Watched him listen to Lena with genuine interest, asking questions, taking her ideas seriously. Watched him build a relationship with his daughter that was respectful and warm and real. One evening, 6 months after the contract signing, Adrian asked Maya to dinner. Not a working dinner. An actual date. She almost said no. But Lena had been giving her pointed looks all week, and Mrs. Rodriguez had outright told her to stop being stubborn. So she said yes. He picked her up at 7. He'd made reservations at a small restaurant overlooking the harbor. Nothing flashy. Nothing that screamed wealth and power. Just quiet and intimate. They talked about Lena mostly. About her brilliance, her kindness, her occasional teenage stubbornness that was part Maya and part Adrian in equal measure. "She wants to apply to MIT early," Maya said. "She's only 13 but she's already doing university-level work." "Like her mother," Adrian said. Maya smiled. "She has your strategic mind too. The way she thinks about systems and how pieces fit together. That's all you." "I missed so much," Adrian said quietly. "First steps, first words, first everything. I can't get that back." "No," Maya agreed. "You can't. But you're here now. That counts for something." They ordered wine. Ate slowly. Talked about other things. About Adrian's company, the changes he was implementing. More focus on sustainable technology. More investment in diverse talent. More emphasis on long-term impact over short-term profit. "Sounds like you're actually building something that matters now," Maya said. "Trying to. It's harder than I expected." Turns out creating meaningful change requires admitting you were wrong about a lot of things. Boards don't love that. But you're doing it anyway. He met her eyes across the table. "Because I finally understand what I should have known 13 years ago. Legacy isn't about how much money you make or how many products you sell. It's about what you leave behind that actually matters. And the only thing I've created that truly matters is in your living room right now, probably sketching out some new invention instead of sleeping." Maya laughed. "She's definitely still awake." After dinner, they walked along the harbor. The night was cool, stars scattered across the sky like someone had spilled diamonds. Maya had forgotten how many stars you could see away from city lights. "I'm divorcing Isabel," Adrian said suddenly. "The paperwork should be final next month." Maya stopped walking. "You don't have to do that for me. I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it because our marriage was a business arrangement that neither of us needed anymore. We parted amicably. She's actually happy about it. Says maybe now we can both find something real." "And what is real for you, Adrian?" He turned to face her fully. "This. You. Lena. Coming to Maine and having dinner and talking about things that matter. Watching our daughter revolutionize an industry at 13. Building something with you again, even if it's different than before. That's real. Everything else has just been expensive distraction." Maya felt something in her chest crack open again, the way it had when Lena was born. Making room for something too big to fit. "I'm afraid," she admitted. "I'm afraid to let you in again and have you leave. I barely survived it the first time. I had to, for Lena. But I don't know if I could do it again." "Then don't let me in all the way," Adrian said. "Let me earn it. Slowly. Let me prove that I've changed. That I finally understand what matters. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere." He took her hand, tentative, like he was afraid she'd pull away. She didn't. They stood there on the harbor, holding hands like teenagers, watching boats rock gently in their slips. "I didn't stop loving you," Maya said quietly. "I should have. God knows I tried. But some part of me always kept the door open, just a crack. Just in case you ever became the man I needed you to be. And now? Now I think maybe you're getting there. But it's going to take time, Adrian. Years, maybe. To rebuild trust. To figure out what this looks like with Lena in the picture. To see if we can actually make this work outside of late-night work sessions and shared ambition." "I have time," he said. "However much you need." Over the next year, they built something new. Adrian became a real presence in Lena's life. Not the fun parent who showed up with gifts and disappeared. He came to her science fairs. Helped her work through technical problems. Listened when she talked about school drama and friendship challenges and the complicated navigation of being 13 and brilliant. He and Maya dated slowly. Carefully. Learning each other again as different people. She wasn't the young engineer desperate to prove herself anymore. He wasn't the arrogant CEO who thought he could have everything without sacrifice. They were adults now. Parents. Partners in creating something that might actually change the world. Lena's sustainable fabric interface launched 18 months after the contract signing. It was a massive success. Fashion designers, tech companies, environmental groups, everyone wanted in. The Maya Reid Youth Innovation Fund awarded its first grants. 25 young inventors from low-income backgrounds, given resources and mentorship to develop their ideas. Cole Innovation stock rebounded. But more importantly, the company culture changed. Younger, more diverse talent. Projects that prioritized ethics alongside profit. A shift from extraction to sustainability. And through it all, Maya, Adrian, and Lena built something together. A family that didn't look traditional. That had been broken and reassembled. But a family nonetheless. One evening, nearly 2 years after that first press conference, Maya found Adrian and Lena in her living room, surrounded by prototype materials and sketches, arguing good-naturedly about load-bearing capacities. "You're both wrong," Maya said, looking at their calculations. "You forgot to account for temperature variation. The material will expand and contract. You need buffer range." They both looked at her notes, then at each other. "She's right," Lena said. "Of course she's right," Adrian said. "She's always right about material science." "Not always," Maya said, but she was smiling. Lena looked between her parents. "You know, you two could just get married already. You're basically living together anyway. Adrian's here 3 weeks out of every month." "Lena," Maya said, flustered. "What?" "I'm just saying. All my friends think you're dating. Mrs. Rodriguez asks me every week when you're making it official. And honestly..." Adrian was trying not to laugh. "Your daughter makes a compelling argument. Don't encourage her." But Lena was right. At some point over the past 2 years, Adrian had become part of the fabric of their lives. His toothbrush in the bathroom. His coffee in the cabinet. His presence so woven into their daily existence that his absence felt strange instead of normal. "Can I talk to your mom alone for a minute?" Adrian asked Lena. Finally, Lena said, gathering her materials. "I'll be in my room doing homework and definitely not eavesdropping." She left, and they both knew she was absolutely eavesdropping. "Your daughter is not subtle," Adrian said. "Our daughter," Maya corrected. "She's as much yours as mine now." He smiled at that. "Our daughter. I like the sound of that." He took Maya's hands. "She's right though. About this, about us." "Maya, I'm not going to do some big romantic gesture or elaborate proposal. That's not what we are. But I love you. I've loved you since Cambridge, and I'll love you until I stop breathing. And I want to build a life with you. A real life. Not grand or perfect, just real. If you'll have me." Maya felt tears in her eyes. "You broke my heart," she said. "And you missed 13 years of her life. And I'm never going to completely forget that." "I know," he said. "I wouldn't want you to. It's part of our story. The ugly part, but still part of it." "But you showed up," she continued. "You did the work. You built a relationship with our daughter. You changed your company. You changed yourself. And somewhere along the way, I fell in love with who you became. Is that a yes?" "It's a yes," she said. "To trying. To building something real. To seeing where this goes." He kissed her then, soft and gentle and full of 13 years of regret and 2 years of rebuilding and a future that was uncertain but possible. From her room, Lena yelled, "Finally!" They both laughed. A year later, they did get married. Small ceremony on the beach in Harlow Bay. Mrs. Rodriguez officiated. Lena was maid of honor and built a solar-powered light installation for the reception. Adrian moved his company's headquarters to a new sustainable facility in Portland, Maine. Close enough to visit Boston for board meetings, close enough to come home to Maya and Lena every night. Cole Innovations continued to grow, but differently now. Still profitable, still successful, but with purpose beyond profit. And Lena Reed, still only 16, became the youngest person ever appointed to the company's Ethics and Innovation Board. She split her time between finishing high school remotely, developing new technologies, and speaking at conferences about sustainable innovation. The tech world called her a prodigy. A revolutionary. The next generation of genius. But Maya knew better. Lena wasn't revolutionary because she was smart. She was revolutionary because she'd been raised to believe that brilliance without ethics was just expensive cruelty. That innovation should serve people, not exploit them. That success meant lifting others up, not stepping on them to climb higher. She'd learned that from watching her mother survive and thrive. From seeing what real strength looked like. From understanding that the most revolutionary act isn't creating something new. It's creating something good. 5 years after Adrian walked back into their lives, the three of them stood together at an international innovation summit in Geneva. Lena was presenting the latest evolution of sustainable interface technology. Fabrics that could monitor health, communicate data, adapt to environment, all while being completely biodegradable. The technology represented everything they'd built together. Maya's original vision. Lena's revolutionary improvements. Adrian's resources and business acumen. A family creating change not through individual genius but through collective purpose. Maya stood in the wings, watching her daughter command a stage full of world leaders and industry experts. Adrian was beside her, his hand in hers. "We did good," he said quietly. "She did good," Maya corrected. "Thank you for joining me on this journey. Until next time, this is Mr. Ellington Lovelines, reminding you that your story isn't over yet. The best chapters might still be unwritten. And sometimes, the ending you never saw coming is exactly the one you always needed.